Hello everyone. Hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're diving into a heartwarming story about how one simple picnic unexpectedly melted a years-long feud between two mothers. If you enjoy this kind of content, don't forget to hit subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. It was one of those gentle, golden mornings where the sunlight feels soft enough to hold in your hands. Tu Tieu and Uri had been planning this day for weeks, hoping, maybe even praying, that a peaceful family picnic might finally ease the Cold War between their mothers, Mrs. Lan and Mrs. Nghia. Even with a wedding behind them and a 1-month-old baby sleeping like an angel at home, the two mothers still carried their generational rivalry like it was a sacred tradition. Nothing had changed, not even a little. The moment the family car rolled to a stop beside the lakeside field, both moms were already warming up their vocal cords. It started subtly, like the opening credits of a drama. Mrs. Lan took one look at the bags Mrs. Nghia was unloading and said, "Troy Jot, who brings this much food? Are we feeding the entire village?" Meanwhile, Mrs. Nghia shot back without missing a beat. "At least I brought something. Some people only pack their attitude." Uri inhaled deeply. Tu Tieu closed her eyes for a moment. Then they exchanged that universal married couple look. Okay, round one begins. Quietly, they activated their secret reconciliation plan as if this picnic were a covert peace treaty mission disguised under sandwiches and sunshine. They spread out the picnic blanket and set up lunch with strategic precision, placing the baby's cradle right at the center, hoping, genuinely hoping, that the sight of their grandchild might soften even the toughest corners of their hearts. For a few fleeting minutes, the plan seemed to work. The breeze was gentle. The birds were singing, and both moms were too busy unpacking things to argue. It was nice, suspiciously nice. But the peace lasted only 5 minutes. Uri made the bold mistake of suggesting, "Let's take a family photo," as if he'd forgotten whom he was dealing with. Instantly, Mrs. Lan stood up and declared, "I'm standing on the right. That's my good angle." A second later, Mrs. Nghia fired back, "The right side is mine. I have always stood there, since before you were even married." And just like that, the peaceful lakeside transformed into a battlefield over 1 square meter of photo real estate. Their voices rose an octave with each sentence, and the argument escalated with the speed of light. Uri blinked twice, already regretting everything he'd said in the last 10 seconds. Tu Tieu, seasoned in maternal diplomacy, simply cleared her throat. Calm, controlled, but sharp enough to slice through chaos. "Moms," she said softly, "the baby is sleeping." The effect was instant. Both women froze on the spot as if someone hit the pause button on a remote. Their mouths clamped shut, but the side-eye war was far from over. The tension remained, floating in the air as visible as the sunlight on the lake. Yet, it was progress. Silence was progress. So everyone sat back down and tried lunch again. The breeze picked up lightly, and for a moment the whole scene felt almost normal, until the baby suddenly let out the tiniest sneeze. Not even a real sneeze. More like a chew. Soft, adorable, barely audible. But to both grandmothers, it might as well have been a code-red emergency alert. Mrs. Lan jumped first. "He must be cold. Where's the blanket? Why didn't anyone cover him?" Mrs. Nghia jumped right after. "He's not cold. He's hungry. Get the bottle. Who's holding him first? Give him to me." Within seconds, both mothers were hovering over the cradle like real-life superheroes. The caped crusader of warm blankets and the fearless warrior of baby bottles. They wrestled over who got to adjust the pillow, debated which blanket was the superior blanket, and insisted at the exact same time that the baby needed to be held by them and only them. Uri sat there in stunned silence before bursting into laughter. "They look like two fans fighting over the last concert ticket," he whispered. Tu Tieu tried to keep a straight face, but she was seconds away from laughing herself. The scene was too ridiculous and too sweet at the same time. And right then, right in the middle of all that chaos, the baby let out a tiny giggle. It was magical. Both grandmothers froze again. They leaned in, and when they saw the little smile on his face, everything else, pride, competition, the decades-long feud, seemed to melt away at once. For the first time that day, they weren't glaring. They weren't arguing. They were just soft. Soft in the way only brand new grandmothers can be. The rest of the afternoon drifted by slowly, like a warm breeze passing over the grass. The sun lowered itself gently, showering the lakeside with this peaceful, honey-colored glow. Tu Tieu and Uri took the chance to bring out the small grill and set up a cozy spot to toast marshmallows. It wasn't just about the food. It was about creating another moment where the moms didn't have to compete. Just enjoy, just be. And somehow it worked. At first, Mrs. Lan and Mrs. Nghia sat down with a respectable 2-foot gap between them. But once the marshmallows started heating and the scent of caramelized sugar filled the air, conversation slipped out naturally. One line here, a short comment there, a little laugh, a half smile. No one really knows who said it first, but at some point they started sharing stories from their younger days. Stories about old hairstyles, embarrassing fashion choices, and the struggles of being young mothers. Then came the unexpected plot twist. Both of them used to adore the exact same singer back in the day. When they discovered it, their laughter burst out so suddenly that even Uri flinched. That shared nostalgia. It was small, but it cracked open something that had been sealed shut for years. And so they talked more. The distance narrowed. Their voices softened. Even their body language changed. By the time the sun dipped toward the horizon, both mothers were sitting much closer than before, swaying gently as they hummed an old tune they both remembered. And in the sweetest turn of events, they ended up teaming together to rock the baby to sleep. Mrs. Lan hummed softly while patting his back, and Mrs. Nghia gently adjusted the blanket, pulling it just right. For once, it wasn't a competition. It was cooperation. Natural, simple, almost effortless. The whole scene looked like a quiet miracle in motion. As the wind cooled and the sky shifted into soft shades of peach and lavender, Tu Tieu and Uri sensed something they hadn't felt all day. Calmness. Not temporary, truce calmness. Not, we're only quiet because the baby is sleeping calmness. But real, gentle, steady calmness that felt like the air had finally decided to cooperate. They didn't say anything to each other. They didn't dare break the moment, but both felt the same quiet relief. It's working. Maybe today really is the day. While the grill crackled softly, the two grandmothers continued reminiscing, like old friends catching up after decades apart. Their voices grew warmer, their laughter came easier, and their guard slowly slipped away without them noticing. The walls they had built with pride, habit, and stubbornness had finally begun to crumble. One story, one memory, one shared giggle at a time. At one point, Mrs. Lan reached for a freshly toasted marshmallow and casually held it out to Mrs. Nghia. "Here, this one looks good. Try it before it melts." It was such a simple gesture, but both Tu Tieu and Uri locked eyes immediately, silently screaming, "Did you see that? Did you see that?" It felt like witnessing a historic handshake between two world leaders. Mrs. Nghia took the marshmallow with a small nod, her tone softer than any of them had heard in years. "Thanks. I haven't had one of these in so long." They even shared a mini conversation about how burning marshmallows used to be their childhood cooking skill, and how they both secretly loved the crunchy charred layer more than the fluffy inside. It was such harmless, ordinary talk. But for this family, it was groundbreaking progress. With the baby sleeping peacefully in his cradle, the lakeside breeze carrying the smell of roasted sugar, and the fading sun coating the field in warm light, the world felt right, maybe even perfect, in an imperfect kind of way. Uri stretched out on the blanket while keeping an eye on the grill. "Mom," he said gently, "you want to sit down here? It's warmer closer to the fire." To everyone's surprise, both mothers responded at the same time. "Okay." They blinked at each other, then laughed. This time not in competition, but because the coincidence was genuinely funny. Slowly, the atmosphere shifted from careful politeness to actual comfort. The two mothers, who had spent years defending their pride like armor, were now leaning in, swapping stories about their first time bathing their kids, their funniest parenting mistakes, and how each of them had been secretly terrified of holding a newborn despite pretending to be fearless. Every detail felt like a puzzle piece clicking into place. At one point, the baby made a tiny sound in his sleep, and both grandmothers instinctively leaned forward at the exact same speed. They froze, glanced at each other, and then burst into laughter again, embarrassed but amused at how synchronized they had become. "It seems we think the same when it comes to him," Mrs. Lan said gently, adjusting her glasses. Mrs. Nghia nodded, her tone thoughtful. "Maybe we always did. We just never admitted it." It wasn't a dramatic apology. It wasn't a goopy emotional confession. But it was honest. And that honesty settled into the space between them like something soft and reassuring. As the sun began to dip lower, Uri brought out a small portable speaker and played a playlist of soft, relaxing music. The melody drifted across the field, warm and nostalgic. Without being asked, both mothers started humming along, rocking the baby's cradle in sync. Even the birds seemed to quiet down, as if listening. Tu Tieu brought out slices of fresh fruit and small cups of warm tea, placing them in front of the two mothers. Instead of arguing about whose fruit looked fresher or whose tea was better, they simply thanked her and continued their conversation. That alone was proof that a small miracle had occurred. Later, when it was time to pack up, the two mothers didn't compete over who folded the blanket better or who organized the bags more efficiently. Instead, they coordinated effortlessly, one gathering the utensils, the other picking up the cups. They moved like a team, not rivals. It was the kind of moment Tu Tieu and Uri never thought they'd witness in their lifetime. As they were about to load everything into the car, Mrs. Lan paused beside the lake, her expression softer than anyone had seen in years. "You know," she said quietly, "I wouldn't mind doing something like this again, maybe somewhere nearby. Nothing fancy." It wasn't just a suggestion, it was an olive branch, a genuine invitation toward peace. Mrs. Nghia, tying the last bag, looked up and replied, "As long as the baby's there, count me in." Her tone wasn't sharp or competitive. It was simply sincere. That was the moment everything shifted. A tiny step, but a real one. And for this family, that meant everything. Tu Tieu and Uri stood side by side, watching their mothers walk back toward the car. Side by side, not 10 feet apart like before. They both felt the same quiet happiness bubbling up inside them. "This feels unreal," Uri whispered. Tu Tieu laughed softly. "If someone told me this morning that they'd be laughing together, I wouldn't have believed it." The lake shimmered behind them, reflecting the fading daylight like little pieces of gold. The whole day felt like a long, gentle exhale, a release of years of tension neither mother would ever admit to carrying. And somehow, the baby, with his tiny hands and tiny smile, had been the bridge between them all. As they buckled him into his car seat, he let out a sleepy coo, and both grandmothers simultaneously leaned in to check on him. Again, perfectly synchronized. "You see that?" Uri whispered. "They're doing it again," Tu Tieu whispered back. But this time, instead of tension, their shared instinct brought only laughter. When the car doors finally closed and the engine started, the entire family seemed lighter, softer, closer. The long-held distance between Mrs. Lan and Mrs. Nghia hadn't vanished completely, but it had undeniably shrunk, like ice melting under the first touch of spring. And the funny thing was, no one said anything dramatic. No one declared peace. No one acknowledged the emotional shift. But it was there, in the shared glances, the softened voices, the quiet cooperation. A single picnic hadn't rewritten history, but it had opened a door. And sometimes, that's all a family really needs. One calm afternoon, one baby's smile, and one moment where love speaks louder than pride. This story follows Tu Tieu and Uri as they plan a peaceful lakeside picnic, secretly hoping it will ease the long-standing feud between their mothers, Mrs. Lan and Mrs. Nghia. From the moment they arrive, the two women bicker over everything, from who brought too much food to who deserves the good side in a family photo. But things begin to shift when the baby sneezes, sending both grandmothers into an adorable competition to take care of him. As the afternoon unfolds, small moments of laughter, nostalgia, and shared memories slowly soften their rivalry. Toasting marshmallows, reminiscing about their youth, and bonding over the same favorite singer, the two mothers unexpectedly grow closer. By the end of the day, they cooperate naturally and even suggest meeting again, proving that love for their grandchild can heal what pride could not.